Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name. And today we're talking about spoilers. Hopefully I didn't spoil it in the thumbnail. I don't know what I'm doing for that yet. I'll figure it out. But this is your final warning if you care about spoilers. I don't. But in case you're not in the post game yet, go ahead and peace out now. 3, 2, 1. All right. We're going to be talking about how to defeat Ludo, the final post game super boss. Now, this fight can be pretty rough. It's a lot of damage coming in. So kind of figuring out what you need to do is going to be important. Obviously, I have Game 8 here pulled up. I don't actually like their guide that much, but they do have a lot of really good information regarding what the actual, like the attacks the enemy can do, and the resistances and what you can do here. This kind of stuff is very, very good to know. Also, they did actually, they let me know something that I wasn't aware of, and my fight didn't come up, but if you use something like, it says when using spell reflect skills like bounce, Ludo will not cast Sizzle, and when using breath reflect skills, he will not cast Ice Age. So maybe if you have an ally that's like really weak to ice and you want to make sure they don't do it, just have someone reflect breath and he won't use it at all, it sounds like. So you're never going to get value out of it necessarily, but it is a way to kind of control his AI to do that. So what are some of the units I recommend and what's the strategy? So first, I recommend buying items. Use your money, buy items. The ones that are going to be really good are like Panacea. Items take priority over everything and they don't interrupt your character's turn. So buy items. I would recommend getting a lot of MP items, potentially AoE healing items, and then things like Panacea. Maybe something like bad medicine, something you could do to poison him. Well, I don't know about poison him, but some offensive things, lower his stats, things like that. But typically, you kind of want to focus more on buffing. But I think hitting damage cap's not going to be that hard in this fight at this point in the game. But maybe I'm wrong. But get items because, like, if you have a healer and they get like paralyzed, you just want an item that can get rid of that. That way they could still take their full turn. So that's really, really important. Also, try to avoid these elements, right? Try to avoid fire, water, electric, obviously light and ice, wind. You want to stick to earth, explosive, and dark. Now, that's not to say you can't get through it. Like, I know people have had large, level 100, large size Zomas just using ice attacks, and you could do it because if you have the ultra crafty, it like lowers it by like 50 or something like that. So it goes from nullified to being able to actually take damage. So that's like nice and that's good and that's important. You could do that. But then if you have a level 100 large Zoma with max stats and a team like that, you're probably not struggling with the boss to begin with. This is hopefully going to be interesting ways to help you defeat that boss. So one that is maybe not as necessarily interesting, but I do think is pretty good for this boss fight is Dragon Lord. Now it is only an A rank and they're not that hard to synthesize once you're at the post game. I have a video on that on my thing and I actually made a little bit even it's not even as it's easier than my video. So why Dragon Lord? I mean, on top of the fact that he actually has electrical and light resistance, if we take a look here, and he actually has paralysis resistance, which is all pretty good. Because, is it paralysis? He has stun resistance too. But if we look here at attacks, right, like it's a lot of light attacks, right? This is electrical, this is light, this is ice, but you can prevent this. But it also sometimes stuns. But if you have characters, even Dragon Lord still isn't weak to ice. He just has no resistance to it. Light elemental attack, light elemental attack. So you kind of want units that have some elemental attacks already. The fact that he has also, I kind of like Disruptive Wave because it removes your buffs, but it's like he gets 2 actions a turn. If he spends one of them just removing like your Reflect Breath attack, I mean, so he might get rid of your Reflect Breath and then use Ice Age, for example, but even then he's using his whole turn to do one attack. That's probably not that insane. So he has some dark and he has like non-elemental stuff, but in general, his big hitters are going to be light elemental, a lot of light, and then Giga Cross could be incredibly powerful, which is electric. So having a unit that resists that is pretty good. He also just has pretty good wisdom, but he has very important, he's one of the few units that actually has like built into him Boss Bane. Boss Bane is really, really good. Increase the damage of the boss family and lowers all resistance slightly. Now I assume this is only for when Zoma's attacking. I don't actually know mechanically if this works. Like if you have 3 units with Boss Bane or whatever, does, like, if you had three, not Zomas, if you had three Dragon Lords, do they stack and they all deal more damage, or is this just like when he's attacking, their resistance to his spells are a little bit less? I'm not sure. So sometimes stuns the enemy for a turn. I actually don't think that affects this boss at all, even though it would be cool. But yeah, he's completely null to stun. You can bedazzle him, which is potentially good. It lowers his accuracy, but I don't think it lowers the accuracy on most of the skills. I think it's only like on his normal physical attacks that he does. But really, Boss Bane is pretty good. This unit has a lot of wisdom, and they have Boss Bane, so this would be one of your main damage dealers. You could go for the Tactical Commander. I don't think I would in this situation because there's another unit I think I'm going to use it on. But if you're using a 4-man, I do think that this could be pretty good. Also, I would probably just use something like Kazamel on him. Like, yeah, I wouldn't probably use Sovereign in this situation. Probably not even Dragon Lord, honestly. Dragon Lord could be good, but I think I would want to get Kazamel. Because I just want to be doing Zam damage for the most part. I don't really like the Craig, you know, the Earth type damage in general because it's delayed by a turn. You could do Explosive, but it's AoE, and so it does less single target damage. You don't need to worry about that as much. So I would stick to like using Kazamel on Dragon Lord. Now for healer, actually, I think Game 8 has probably the perfect healer here. Lionheart. I think Lionheart is like, here, let's open it in a new tab here. Where you at? Lionheart as a dedicated healer is so good because one, he has ultimate whatever, he has health professional, but he has built-in tactical trooper. So he is a healer that could sometimes go twice in a row, which means he could double heal, he could heal and then buff, he could, you know, revive and then heal. He can attempt to revive twice sometimes. So it's just like really, really good. The fact that he also gets stronger and more tanky after round 6, and then even more after round 3, then even more after round 6 is really good. Health Professional is obviously just great as well, right? So this is basically the perfect healer in the game, which is funny because I don't think of Lionheart as a healer and for the most part, but he has huge light and electricity resistance, so he's already good in this fight. He has anti-magic resistance. Now, if you're going to build these units, you might, you know, want to consider which talents to use. Like on Dragon Lord, yes, you want to have one combat thing. Like you want to have something with Kazamel in it and whatever other things you can have. But then other than that, you're probably going to want Wisdom 4, and then maybe like you might want to do something that makes it so he can't have his spells silenced, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. That would just be kind of bad RNG, I think, and you can use items to recover that. So I'd probably do something like HP or Wisdom 3, just kind of boost the Wisdom even more. But if we come back here to Lionheart, I mean, he's got wonderful resistances. What's his MP looking like? You probably, on this character, you probably don't really want Wisdom as much. You probably want HP 4. I would guess MP 4 as well. 420 is not that much, but he does get the reduction in cost. But I would definitely do like an HP 4 because you really want him to live, right? You don't want him to die. That's like the main thing. And Rainmaker is good, but I would probably get, like they recommend here, what's it called? Supreme Healer. Just get all the best healing things on him. And then he will be really, really, really good. The fact that he can move twice sometimes is actually kind of insane. The fact that he could Kazing and then Omni Heal, or he could Kazing and Kazing a second time without you having to use any items for that, like, it's kind of just disgusting, if I'm being honest. It's probably the best healer in the game, combined with the fact that he's actually pretty fast and he's also relatively tanky in terms of his HP. Like, not the highest HP in the game, but I mean, I think that's pretty good. What does it compare to the Dragon Lord? Not as high as the Dragon Lord, actually. So maybe he's a little bit squishier than I thought. Mine, I think, just I fused it with a strong monster, so I haven't really had that issue. But yeah, 520 agility is pretty good too. And also, then if you're all fully healed, he could just do some attacks. He actually has a good attack, too. So sometimes he can get in a little bit of damage. So Lionheart, I highly recommend as a good healer. And then a unit that is kind of my little flavor. I think, now, I didn't test this because I didn't use this in my version of the game. But I think could be an insanely good damage dealer. You've probably already seen me click through it. But it is the one and the only D rank Skeleton Swordsman. I think Skeleton Swordsman is potentially insane for this fight. I want someone out there to test it and let me know. That way I can confirm. But why do I think that? This is a unit that I think you should make large. I think you should do this one large for a couple reasons, but we'll get into it in just a second here. I think he could be good as a small. but I think if you're using him small, he's not insane. I think he's probably just like a reasonable unit to use. Probably pretty good, but you'd probably want something like you'd probably use like an uber killing machine over him that can already act twice sometimes. But if you make this guy large, his talents are insane. So he already has built in level 1 and level 40 Bang Meister, increase the potency of explosive attacks, and increases their MP consumption, and Ultra Crafty Banger, which greatly increases damage inflicted by explosive attacks. And this doesn't say this, but this lowers the enemy's resistance to explosive. So he's already not resistant to explosive, Ludo. You already are, so you're going to actually be doing more damage than normal, and you're going to be increasing your own potency, and you're going to be doing for less mana. That's why he's okay. Why he's insane is he gets Tactical Trooper when he's large. That's not unique, but still, now he can go twice every single turn, always. He always gets to do, this really, really powerful bang attack. What bang attack? We're going to talk about that in a second. But also, one of the few monsters, and actually the highest, I think, ranked monster in the game that, unless I'm forgetting one, that gets Ultra Boss Bane. That is, Uber Boss Bane greatly increases damage inflicted to monsters from the question mark family and somewhat lowers all resistances. So between Uber Boss Bane, being able to go twice, Ultra Crafty Banger, and Bang Miser, I mean, you just have every single passive in the game possible to deal damage. So I think you're going to be hitting damage cap with this guy twice a turn, no problem. But again, I'll say that this is untested. Of course, you don't let the D rank scare you. First of all, what's Snappy Comeback? Inflicts damage back on the enemy that lands a killer blow. The amount inflicted is proportional to the excess damage suffered at the monster's HPs are reduced to 0. Even Snappy Comeback's great because you're going to have, we're not done with the build yet, but again, you have a really tanky healer with a lot of HP, hopefully, and because you're stacking the HP, then he just kazings them back up to life. And then if he dies again, he's still dealing damage, even if he doesn't get anything, even if he just takes a bunch of hits. His resistances aren't the best for this fight, but I think he's going to make up for it with how insanely powerful this thing is. So for the skill that we're going to use here, it's actually not part of his main skill. Basically, what you're going to want to get is Big Banga. There's no physical. So his stats, like you could go Wisdom, you could go Kaboomal, but again, Kaboomal, the AoE makes it a little bit weaker, and his Wisdom is dog shit. Like his Wisdom is bad. So he has really good attack, but there's no attacks, physical attacks in the game that do explosive damage that I could find, and I was searching for him. A couple Wisdom for sure, but his Wisdom is terrible. So he has all these bonuses and nothing to use it on, except for the fact that there is an incredibly powerful attack that requires no stats and Wisdom or physical attack at all to deal the damage, meaning you could just stack this guy with more and more HP, more defense, more agility, more MP to keep him going, and that is Big Banga. This is an ability, it does outrageous explosive damage on all enemies, and its damage is purely based on your current level. So you level this guy up to 100. I know that's easier said than done before you're done with the post game, but get him up to 80, 90 or something like that, and then you can get it easy. And this is actually pretty easy to get. Airhead, right? Airhead is on the Time Beam. Wrecker is pretty good too. I would recommend getting I think it's Airhead here, because you get an extra 64 MP. You can get the extra attack, but again, your goal is to use Big Bang for the entire fight. And if your attack stat is 1, it does the same amount of damage. It doesn't matter. The Wisdom here doesn't matter on this. So if you have to pick one of these, as far as, I just think Airhead's by far the best because it gives you the extra MP. None of the other stuff is very good anyway. I mean, you could even maybe Seath, but I mean, who cares? That's none of these other abilities are relevant to what he's doing. So I would make the Time Beam, which is already one of the best characters in the game, get the Big Banga, and then get that on to a skeleton soldier that's large. Now, this is a little bit of work, I'll admit, but I think that if you're really trying to beat Ludo, I think this feels like a counter Ludo unit in terms of how much damage you're dealing. So I want you to kind of let me know that. So on top of him doing insane damage twice a turn, that is sustainable because he's always getting 2 turns if he's large. And even if he gets killed, he's still dealing damage back to the enemy, and Slying Hard is reviving him. So after all that, that's kind of the 3 I would use, right? I would probably use a Dragon Lord. And Dragon Lord, there might be better, but I think Dragon Lord's just pretty good with the resistances. Slying Heart's got great resistances, probably the best healer in the game in general, but definitely for a fight like this where if you only have 2 teammates and you want to ping, kazing, whatever twice, you could revive your whole squad. But that's for squad number 1. Squad number 2, that's when things kind of get a little more whatever you want. I would just keep adding units that could do good Kazamal damage, right? Good dark damage, good earth damage. I would probably not have only this is a great one, right? Uber killing machine, something like that. Just have something Belial. What does Belial do? Why is Belial good? Ultra crafty banger, that's good. Yeah, I mean, so he even gets Bangmeister and Boss Bane. So you could have like a backup Belial that's large as well, come in and do a bunch of damage, because right, he would perform 2 actions in a row. He has the Boss Bane, he has the Ultra Crafty Banger, he has the Bangmeister. So he could do a lot of damage as well. But even without that, like just being able to just attack things, like he'll just do decent damage, you know? But I think having things with tactical whatever is going to be pretty good here. Sorry for the ad of asking you to punch a lady in the vagina, but you know, that's just game 8, baby. So other than that, you can also get things like lightning earrings, lightning charms, you know, reduce the damage. There's a lot of good accessories you can get for stuff like this. Things that make it so your enemies are your allies are less likely to get less likely to lose their ability to cast spells, which is good, but you can kind of compensate with that with items. Because even if your guy loses the ability to cast spells, Slineheart will still hit pretty hard, and then you could do it at the start of the turn, and then hopefully he could still do his thing. But it would still be kind of rough. So besides that, I also think you want at least one person outside of your main party. Let's take a look here. Where's the ultimate thing? Let me just go up here and take a look at here. Let's go Kerplunk Dance. You definitely want at least one unit in your backline with Kerplunk Dance. Now, Supreme Healer has it, so you'll already have it on your Slineheart, but I would turn that off. You probably don't want him to almost ever use it. I would just get either a second Supreme Healer or pretty much, you know, anything in the backline. I actually like Vaudeville in here because I like tongue bashing a lot, which is a really funny sentence to say. But Kerplunk Dance and having it, basically you just have something with a bunch of HP, even like a I mean, I don't know, heck, let's just go look at DQ3 Metal Kid. So we go to Monsterpedia. Let's go to the single highest HP unit in the game. Boom. Max HP is going to be She Slime. You could even go scout a She Slime, get it Kerplunk Dance. You might want something with higher agility, possibly, but greater Platypunk too, and just put Kerplunk Dance on it. What does Kerplunk Dance do? I'll find it. Give me a second here. It revives. Let's click on it. Give me that. Sorry, a dance that heals or resurrects all allies, including the reserves, but at the cost of the user's life. So for the front line, I think you should try the Skeleton Swordsman Big Banga large combo, a Dragon Lord, and a Slineheart. And then in your back line, just do 2 or 3 more heavy damage dealers, and then have a Kerplunk Dance unit. They're going to kill themselves, and then also probably get a couple agility items. That way you could throw this on there and they could use it. But it, you know, maybe you'll want to use it preemptively too. Like you might want to do a couple attempts to figure it out. Kerplunk Dance could be hard to time. If you do it first and then he attacks and kills your guys again, you still have your reserves, but then you're still kind of on the back foot because you missed the whole turn essentially. But if you want to do it at the end of the turn, which is ideal, you might die before you get a chance to use it. So it's a little rough, but I would this is a reset button in the middle of the fight. That means if you only do half the fight the first time, you can't revive this guy, so you can't keep doing it. But I do think it is very powerful. Get like a She Slime, throw it on there. Let's just use other items that they use, right? Like what are the good damage dealers? Say Belial was a great damage dealer. Barbus is obviously a great damage dealer. Overkilling Machine, Archdemon. They do like a 2 healer build. I don't think that's necessary. I think you can kind of just burn it down. Time Being is just a really powerful unit in general. Tons of wisdom. And even though he has Zammeister, which will make it do a little bit more damage in general, none of his other abilities are really going to be that good because he's like maybe Instaping can sometimes be good, but mostly what you would do with this guy, right? You just cast Kazamal. He does have Big Banga, but that's unlikely to be better than his Kazamal because he has really, really high wisdom in this AC. Like he has 820. It's like one of the highest. It's like the 4th highest in the whole game. So I probably wouldn't even use Airhead on him. I would probably get rid of that and use Kazamal. But yeah, that's basically my strategy guide for him. If there's anything that doesn't make sense, let me know. I don't know. I didn't even open the game for this one. There's not really anything to show you in there. Everything's going to be here on the guides. I'm going to send you a guide. I'm going to post the link to the secret boss guide here, how to do it. You can see more suggestions of things that they recommend. Nowhere on here does it say skeleton swordsman. I think that's my own little flavor. And I think Dragon Lord, they don't mention either. I think the boss bane is probably really good. But maybe I'm overvaluing it, and maybe you should go for like or find a boss bane with tactical trooper, things like that, if that's possible. But the point is, there's a lot of good monsters. The boss fight is tough because it deals a lot of damage, but oh, here it is, the panacea. There we go. The fight is tough, but if you just have your monsters getting closer to stat cap and you like synthesize them, and you know, make sure when you synthesize, you're trying to get stat cap, you synthesize your powerful monster with another monster that's already been synthesized a couple times. That way you actually are getting increased base stats. If you do a fresh monster, it doesn't matter if this monster's level 100. If this one's a fresh monster, even at level 100, the stats aren't going to be high enough combined to get you to a new high. It might get you a little bit, but it's really not going to be worth that much effort. But once you get the stats high enough and you have a relatively sound strategy, then you're making sure to set your monsters' auto battle stuff to be pretty good. Now, this is something that I guess I didn't mention, but we'll mention here at the end. Auto battle is OP, especially on units like Sly and Heart, because the slower the unit, the more powerful auto battle is. Because the lower your agility is, your units will change what they don't decide what they're going to do until their turn comes up. When you issue an order, you decide before the turn start what happens. So if there's situations I've had come up where, let's say I wanted to use Crackle on an enemy or something, right? And then an enemy goes first, they use bounce. I have Crackle set up. I'm going to use it. It bounces it back and kills my guys, right? Whereas voice crack, ooh, Adult Plat has entered the room. However, if you have him on auto battle, instead of using Crack, he might use Craggle, which is, it'll come up, he'll see that the enemy has bounce or something for that turn, or, you know, whatever. I had a situation like this happen, but I don't remember exactly verbatim. But it was, he used Crackle instead. It had bypassed like the defense or something that the enemy did, like a selfless or something, because it didn't go off till the start of the next turn. So he actually got to do full damage. And I wouldn't have done that normally because I didn't know what the enemy was going to do, but they could decide in the moment. And the point is that can be really good for healers as well. If an enemy dies, if an ally dies before your healer gets to go, you don't need to preemptively guess which ally is going to die and then try to heal them or revive them. Your healer will just pick the right one. So auto battle is OP. They could decide after they get more information than you have. Sometimes you want to manually choose because especially your DPS units will just use the wrong attack because they're like, this guy's below 20% HP. I can conserve my mana. Shut up. Quit trying to conserve your mana. Go all out. But yeah, don't be afraid to use auto battle. I know it might seem like it's a noob thing, but it actually is very, very powerful in some situations and in most situations. I mean, I think I probably beat it on auto battle for most of the turns, and then a few turns I kind of manually chose because I wanted to make sure they did this. But when you really want to make sure that they do something, you're giving up actually potentially more power of them being able to adapt in the middle of a turn. Anyway, that's going to be all for today. Much love. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. Good luck on Ludo. Let me know how you did it. If there's anything that I missed or anything I should add, I can always do a follow-up. And let me know how that skeleton swordsman works for you. If it doesn't work at all and it's a complete meme, I apologize. But I think it's going to work. All right. Peace out.